Second part of the lecture on social reinforcement and coaches' behavior. So we learned the four principles of the reinforcement in the previous section, which is positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. Now we're going to learn two approaches, and it's different from reinforcement: positive approach and a negative approach, so that we can learn some strategies how to do it. Positive approach, we are focusing on rewarding appropriate, desirable, healthy behaviors so that that behavior could get strengthened. Negative approach is focusing on punishing, it's a punishment strategies, undesirable behaviors so that we can redirect those inappropriate behaviors. Many times coaches tend to use, like I said in the description, both of them together, but researchers and specialists, particularly in physical activity setting, we really emphasize to use predominantly positive approaches in your practice. There are multiple reasons which is on the way. How to use positive reinforcement. First one, so there are three different strategies largely. First, choose effective reinforcement. Okay, it could be social material, it could be extra activities, special outings, it could be intrinsic motivation related, it could be extrinsic motivation related. How do we know which one is more effective for my followers? You know what? Next slide will tell you. So simply survey them. You can ask them directly, or you can use this form. This is a little template so that you can revise it and use it. Ask them what type of reward they want and prefer when they are doing well. And some say, "Oh no, I don't need anything. I just need your acknowledgement, head nod like this." Or some people say, "I want a pizza party." Or some people, followers would say, "Can we have a day off?" Collect them so that you can utilize positive reinforcement that they prefer, and that's the one way of doing it. Second guideline is choosing good timing or scheduling reinforcement. Timely reinforcement is very critical to be more effective and maximize effect of your positive reinforcement. Generally speaking, early learners, beginners, and children need more continuous and immediate reinforcement for desirable behaviors. So, the little ones, they want constant acknowledgement. But if they are learning, and that doesn't matter the age, but when they're learning the new skills, they're beginners, then they need a continuous, immediate response so that they can develop good skills, right? However, if it's more experienced learners with some good level of skills, you don't need every single time great job, good job, right? That's annoying. So intermittent and immediate reinforcement could be desirable. That's a general principle. However, these reinforcement strategies can be very sensitive to different cultures, ethnic groups, age groups, skill levels, genders, and type of skills even. Gross muscle ones, they need to practice multiple times before they get whether they're doing good or not. But if it's more fine muscle related one, you don't say every single time they are doing good job or they are doing wrong, right? So you need to balance those and engage through which one is best for your group. Like I said earlier in the first part video lecture, you need to tailor all these principles into your style and the need of your followers. So always mindful of diversity in formulating your reinforcement strategies. Number 3 guideline to utilize positive reinforcement effectively: reward appropriate behaviors. That's really important. And I think you know already that when we are rewarding, we need to reward also the process of doing it, not only outcome. We tend to say really strong positive reinforcement when somebody has great outcome. However, as a leader, you need to be mindful that you need to reinforce them in the process as well, acknowledging their effort and in their improvement. As you're doing so, you're creating what motivational climate? Task involving climate or mastery climate. It's the same climate, which is very healthy, conducive, motivational climate, according to the research findings, right? That's what you're doing. Also, when you're working with youth sports participants, particularly, we need to give them really positive acknowledgement when they demonstrate good emotional and social skills, such as they are responsible, accountable for what they're doing, when they control their emotions very well, self-control, and when they help other people. As we are doing so, acknowledging those good behaviors, we're helping them to develop what? Positive characteristics, personalities, good sports personship through physical activity and sports participation, which is really one of a key purpose of helping our children participate in sports, right? So that's what we need to do. Also, when you're using feedback, use variety. Not only just your verbal, but it could be facial, and it could be your behavior, patting on the back, or other type of feedback that I shared through the survey. So mix those up so that they can have fun getting different types of positive feedback. Sometimes you can use still positive feedback to criticize undesirable behavior. That's called sandwich feedback, which I'll give you more details on the next slide. When you're providing positive feedback, being sincere, honest, and contingent with their performance, not just throwing it. Good job, good job, good job. You lose the meaning and power of it. So it has to be contingent with what they're doing, and then that's very important to be more effective and also to maximize effect of positive reinforcement. Okay, next slide. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more about sandwich feedback here. Sandwich feedback, as you can see, you praise first, then praise, put the last, and then put the criticism in the middle. It's not just saying, oh, you did a great job, but you're bad, but you can be good. That's not good enough, okay? But principle is positive, negative criticism in the middle, and then put another positive one. How do we do that? When you're doing praise, it has to be motivational, and it has a motivational function of it. Find something that person does well related to that performance. Everybody does good things, more good things than bad things, right? So, Misuk, you have worked so hard and putting your effort on this, that, and I really appreciate your engagement on that activity. That's a good one. However, this is what you're not doing, and a criticism right there. And you can lay it up bullet point. Not berating the person as a person, human being, berating the behavior. Talk about the behavior or performance, okay? Then you come up with the next one, which is most important, instructional function of a praise. Number one, so 3 bullet points there. First, you need to talk about, for this task, this is what's expected at the end. Expectation right there. However, currently, this is what you're doing. So to get to the expectation proficiency level, this is what you need to do. A, B, C. Give them the instructions so that it's not about that person bad or bad behaviors. You're doing good. However, this is something that you can improve. How to improve? This is A to Z. Praise, criticism, and the praise again. That is called the sandwich feedback. Some people call it constructive feedback. This is the way to use positive feedback to criticize someone's undesirable behavior. It is very powerful. And then you use this feedback method with your family members, with your siblings, with your classmates. Let me tell you, this one really works well when we criticize certain things with positivity around. So I use this one all the time, believe me, and it works very well, and it really improves your relationship with your family members and with your followers as well. All right, something that we should not do often, okay, in our leadership. Focusing on criticism with sarcasm, and using physical abuse, physical punishment, or employing guilt in your feedback, which is a form of punishment. This is a negative approach that we need to be mindful. You could use it with some cautions, which I will give you guidelines how to do it. But if you could avoid it, it's better to avoid it, because you can use this sandwich feedback still, right? Why punishment is not working well? Generally speaking, in our leadership, like I said, a majority of our the reinforcement should be positive, at least 80% of what we do. And the reason that the punishment doesn't work well and help people change their behaviors, because if you use punishment quite often, it makes you nervous. A fear of a failure kicks it in people's emotions and a cognitive process. And secondly, punishment can create unpleasant, aversive learning environment. Not good. And then lastly, punishment itself could act as a reinforcer. Some people want that punishment not to do it. As an example, students who do not want to do sweaty physical education class, they intentionally do not bring their physical education uniform or clothes. Then when they do not wear proper clothes for physical education class, what happened? They get sit out. That's what they want. So we need to be mindful that punishment could act as a reinforcement. So look at those drawbacks with a punishment and try not to use it. However, some cases punishment can be effective for the following reasons. Individuals experiencing mild punishment are at negligible risk for emotional problems. It should be mild, okay? And the punishment could deter future cheatings or other wrongdoings, so that punishment works for that reason. Punishment lets teammates know or other followers know that others are being held accountable for their actions. And lastly, you have to use a punishment if individual endangers himself or herself or other people. Punishment is the way to stop that behavior immediately. If you have to use punishment as one of your tools to stop certain behaviors or redirect the behaviors, there are good guidelines that you need to follow through. And those are 12 of them. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go over. First is be consistent. Miss gets it, then Jennifer gets it. All right, and Chihua gets it, Chelsea gets it. Everybody gets it. Be consistent. That's one key. Secondly, punish the behaviors and not the person. When you're yelling at somebody, you don't say you did it. No, your behavior is wrong, not you are wrong, right? That's what I'm talking about. Also, impose punishment impersonally. Again, do not berate the person or yell. Simply inform the person of the punishment with the behavior emphasis right there. Another one, when you're utilizing punishment to be more effective, do not embarrass individual in front of other teammates and classmates. Make it more private. That tended to be more effective because you're protecting their ego also. When you're developing punishment system, you can allow your members to provide some inputs and make up punishments like, what did you like to do if you do not follow the rules? which is a negative reinforcement, then they will say things. And then you use that as a form of a punishment. It tended to be very effective. Do not use physical activity, particularly as a form of a punishment. Why? I mean, you have had that in sports engagement, physical education classes, extra laps, extra push-ups. There are a number of reasons. In a sports setting, competitive sports setting, athletic setting, if you consistently use physical activity as a form of a punishment, then what happened with athletes, they're practicing average of 4 or 5 hours, average 3 to 4 hours per day, physical training, and you're adding physical exhaustion right there. Then they could get burnt out physically and mentally, emotionally, which make them to become prone to what? Injury, and that's the problem. And another one, in more physical activity, health behavior setting, if you use physical activity as a form of a punishment, then you're connecting their future health behaviors, which is physical activity, with negative emotions. Then whenever they run, or whenever they do push-ups, they think they are getting punished. So you are killing their future long-term health behaviors. So do not use physical activity as a form of a punishment. Kinesiology majors, please don't. Doesn't work. Okay? And number 7, make sure the punishment is not perceived as a reward or simply as attention. Like I said, it could act as a reinforcer, so you need to be mindful and aware that doesn't happen. Number 8, do not punish people for while they're making errors. All right, then they never learn their skills, and they could develop a feel of a failure, which doesn't help them to master skills that they're learning. So be careful. Do not punish other teammates for an individual mistake that kills team climate, which we will learn next topic. That's something that you should not do. But I see that practice all the time. One teammate come to the practice late, everybody runs extra laps. There are 2 problems right there in the punishment. You are punishing everybody for one person's mistake, and you're using physical activity as a punishment. Both of them are wrong. Kinesiology majors, future coaches, be mindful. Do not use physical activity again as a form of a punishment. Use punishment sparingly, but enforce it when you use it. Do not use it too often. Okay? Make certain that participants understand reason for punishment when you're using it. Explain why. And lastly, make sure punishment is age appropriate. I have seen some coaches doing outrageous punishment type of behaviors for elementary school kids in a soccer team in the field and a baseball team in the field. Those are not appropriate for little ones. So that's what we need to be careful. Age appropriate. Think about it, what you're doing and what you will be doing, and then you will see which one is more age appropriate. So last one, practical implications. I'm putting all that together. Use positive feedback. Majority of them, about 80% or more, is better. You can still criticize your players using positive approach, which is sandwich feedback. Negative and extinction reinforcement can be also effective in a certain situations. So develop that. You must have a really good PPK in positive reinforcement, and develop more skills in how to use negative reinforcement and extinction, and you will see yourself becoming more powerful in terms of social reinforcement skills. Develop effective reward system for your leadership with your participants, so that you can be more effective with positive reinforcement strategies, and minimize use of a punishment. When you have to use it, follow the instructions, that guidelines for the punishment. All right, watch this video, which is related to our forum on Island posted, and this reinforcement story related to your lab activity 9.